Hello everybody, I'm Kate Foggo, this is Julie Hurt, and we are making light to humans being. Today, I have so much stuff that keeps coming up for me and around it, and nudges and points and bells and whistles, and it's a subject that I find very difficult, but we're just going to see what happens. I might cave halfway through, but since I get to edit, it might be a very short episode. So basically, it's about prejudice. Specifically, I kept calling it sexual attraction. I'm not sure it's sexual. So Julie reminded me it's physical attraction, which is an odd subject for a 50-odd long time married, blah, blah, blah. But it's the connotations around it all that we're going to discuss. So, this might get quite difficult because I still even find it awkward, more so, and now I find them older, awkward to talk about, embarrassing, and quite vulnerable, I think. So we'll see how it goes. If it's shit, I'll just not publish it. So welcome.
Well, I want to say, love all that. This show is making like two humans beings. So we're about to be really human. So if
embarrassingly so, yeah, embarrassingly so. That's I think my reluctance to talk about it, but also a pressing need to know there is lots of stuff in there that I have just not gone there.
And I know that you're doing your throat chakra, so it's like just to
really, I don't. Oh, it's partly because the video is so bloody unflattering.
Well, there's that too. I'm like, oh look, she's doing what I want to do and hide my neck, but then also just massaging the throat chakra. But I was
crossing of the arms
too. So some things that we say today may sound harsh, and that's not. We're trying to explore it honestly. So I'm just putting that little.
Yes, because I think in order to be honest about your prejudices, you don't want to be judged on them. I mean, I know I will be judged on them, of course I will, but my point is these are things that run deeper than my intellect. Right. My intellect knows that we're all equal. My intellect knows that fat people are just as attractive. All of that. I've had years of this, but well, let's just get straight into it. I've struggled with my weight all my life. It's always been an issue, and I was on Bright Line Eating. I think when I met all you guys and joined the community, I quite quickly got to a weight actually that I was quite happy with. I thought, that's it, my weight problems are behind me forever. So not perfect, but at a weight that I was happy with. I could have lost more, but actually couldn't be bothered. It ceased to be an issue, which was a magnificent place to be. However, in working with my beautiful friend Nina Abaswaria has a podcast, which I'll put in the links. And she had done this, being on the inside, that's right, that's what it's called. And she had done this podcast, I think I might have mentioned it before, with a lady called Danny somebody or other, who was of Chachi Power Project, and it was about body positivity. And it was fascinating. And I realized as I was listening to it that my issues with body and weight had not gone away. They were just not an issue because I was at an acceptable weight. So all this struggle, my biggest struggle, I can manage the not worthies and not good enoughs. And we've been through a lot of all of that. They're not safe, supported, protected. I can analyze them, I can poke them, I can throw them around, I can expose them, I can share them with people. I'm okay about that. But there's one area of my life that even I want to tear up even talking about it, and that's the unlovable, which is, I think, at the root of everything. All my other workarounds and all my other beliefs are workarounds for this core not lovable. And the thing about the weight was that I haven't, it's a work in progress, haven't learned to love and accept myself. It's just that weight wasn't an issue because I was at an acceptable weight. And that's quite a shock. But I was happy to leave it right there. Like, I have danced around this issue ever since we started this work, because there is a big part of me that goes, I'm not ready for this, I'm not ready for this, but it keeps coming up. And I actually listened to I listened to Nina's podcast anyway, but this lady, Danny, is the Chachi Power Project. I will try and find the links and put them there. I just listened to another 4 episodes. She did a podcast. She stopped. Hopefully she'll start again, because they were just brilliant. It's about the body positivity and, learning to the toxic diet culture, all of which I agree with. But that's also so deeply rooted in me, that thin is great, that you could never be too thin. I would joke, and people, and not, I would joke that I would love to have anorexia, and like people go, oh, that's a terrible thing to say. But it's like, no, I seriously cannot imagine not wanting to eat. This is such an issue in my life that there's no concept of being too thin. It's just unimaginable to me. And you do these quizzes, and it's like, if you tick 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 tick, and I'll be like 9 out of 10 food eating disorder, whatever. I know all this. I used to try and make myself sick. I had to stop doing it, because like all the vessels in your eyes pop open. Like, I've not been what they would call like mentally that bad that I could force harm on my body. Like, my body would get to a point where I'd be like, I just couldn't make myself sick anymore. So I've never been successful at that, but I tried laxatives, but they made me so ill that I could, not all of that. I've taken drugs and all nonsense and things, and they used to take hydroxin, something, which is
the speed
for thyroids. Speed, great. Like, if I could get speed,
I thought like hydrox is something was like an equivalent or something of speed, which is, so you take those diet pills, and it was, you were technically
yes and no. Yes, when I was much younger and had access to drugs, I would take speed, which is great.
Gotcha.
Thyroxin, sorry, it was thyroxin, and it's prescribed to people with low thyroid issues. But I bought all this. When I worked in a nightclub, all the bouncers, they were all bodybuilders, and they seemed to have access to all number of prescription drugs, illegal prescription drugs, and at vast expense. I bought all this thyroxin, and in the end I didn't take it, because only because, not because it could kill me. I didn't care about that. I didn't care that it would fuck my kidneys and my liver. I didn't care about any of that. But what it said was you could cause a dependence on it, which meant that when you stopped taking it, that your metabolic rate would slow down. I was like, oh, that's only going to make my problem worse. And that's the only reason I didn't take it. See, that's just crazy nonsense. That's what it's like. And obviously I'm more sensible as I'm older, and I'm not, my dieting, it may be extreme, but it's probably healthy. I think people would still call it extreme. But it's like, there's a bit of me that knows none of this is ever going to go away until I learn to be accepting of who I am and what I look like. And it's what I look like. It's like you can tell by looking at me, I don't spend a lot of time. Like, it's this is so deep in me, Julie, and that's where I'm stuck. It's so deeply rooted in me that and I'm actually, so I'm finding bits of nuts in my teeth.
Talk about diet.
Can't afford to waste some of it. I don't think of this necessarily to think of myself, so it's easier for me to see what I project, what I see in other people. But I want to prefix this with, I know this is really shameful for me to admit, but it's also not nice for me to feel this way, because all these judgments also apply to me. And that is, I honestly do not believe that fat people are attractive and that anybody else could ever find them attractive. I believe they are lovely people. I believe they're intelligent. I don't put any other label on them. But and why does it matter? This thing about being attractive, for some reason, I hold this almost as the pinnacle of success, being physically attractive, which is nonsense. Like, I've never been that person. I've never really mixed with people like that. I've never mixed with gorgeous people or people who are I don't know where this comes from. And that's a lot of my resentment towards the sort of selfie culture and stuff like that, is like, that it's wrong to try and make yourself look good. It's like, there's so much conflict in there. And the other thing in this podcast I was listening to was actually that lady who pointed out that it's about disability as well. So not only is it about size, And let's face it, it's not even just about being fat. You might just not be conventionally attractive. You know, you don't have to be, but fat to me is like such a no-no. Like a little bit of fat's okay. Like I've learned to sort of say that's okay, you know, plump, pleasantly plump. And I can look at other people's bodies and say they look nice. But it's still conforming to a certain point beyond which is abhorrent to me. And I don't understand, I just don't know where, you know, and then all the judgments come out. That's what these podcasts are about, is these judgments towards fat people, which I have been that fat person. I know I'm not lazy. I know I'm not stupid. You know, all these things, but I still, there's a bit of me when I see someone who's fat and I'm like, well, I've never been that bad. You know, what's wrong with them? Well, how did they let that, you know, there's all this stuff comes out. And then this podcast was also about disability, that people never consider that disabled people also have relationships and have sex and have a sex life and entitled to privacy, all these things, you know. So it seems to me to be everything, just people are, I don't want to say imperfect, because I don't mean that everyone should be perfect, but there is something about being physically is it unattractive or just not convert, I don't know, that all of that, Julie, horrible, such a mess. But we're better to start with it than just shake it all up and throw it at the public and see what happens.
So while you were talking, the guides kept giving little cues. So you're right, it is, what did you say? You thought negative belief was not lovable, right? That's the guides, my guides are like, yeah. So to me, there's a parallel, what you're feeling. I have a parallel as far as listening to different experts in whatever field and thinking, well, they're not saying anything I don't already know, or how come they have a platform, or like all of that, like, oh, because at first I used to keep them on a pedestal, but at the same time I'd be like, well, that's not, why do they get to say that and I can't say that? And there was like there's not an, how do I say this? There's not like a strength in me to be able to say, well, to believe that I can say things too that I'm not, because mine's not worthy, right? So I'm not worthy to say things like they say. So to me, the guides are showing me like a parallel, like for you, it's acceptance of who you are, your body, all of that type of stuff, grounded in the not lovable. Mine is, I can speak, because this has always been just so clogged. I'm like, you know, and as we've done this work, this has started to open, but it's the same type of thing. I'm not worthy. Why would anybody even want to hear what I have to say? And, oh, I can't believe they're saying that. Like, oh, they're stupid. Why? And I do that. So there's a parallel in there to me, was the guides were saying. There's a huge thing.
But what I do with physical appearance, you're doing with intellect.
Yes. And
see, I never assume fat people are stupid. I never assume ugly people are stupid, because I've met a lot of clever people and they didn't all look the same. It's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting that you just said the word stupid, because it reminds me, I had this saying for a long time that once I deem you stupid, I'm done with you. And I would do that to people, or what, oh gosh, when I look back now, I'm like, so like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I acted that way. Like everybody has a say. Anywho, there's a thing in there about, there was a thing in there as you were talking, and I don't remember what it was, but the guides were like, acceptance. So it's, as you're working on accepting all the layers that are you, like our teacher says, that make the cateness, bring the cateness to everything. As you're working through all of that, you're seeing, so I'm thinking of the envy, like you see people who are not afraid to put themselves out there physically in whatever way they are. They don't care, like the selfies, whether they're overweight, whether they have a physical disfigurement, like all of that. And then you see them, this is what the guides are saying. And so it's like, so then you're like, well, they're doing it, why can't I? And there's that acceptance. So you're at that layer. So I'm going to finish my sentence because I'm starting to talk too fast. You're at that layer of understanding. There is a lot of acceptance internally that you're working on. And in that, which was the next thought that I started to usurp myself with, in that, there's like a breath and grace for yourself, you've gotten to this point. Do you know what I mean? So instead of beating,
I appreciate there's a reason why this is coming up now.
Yeah. But
because it would have been too, it's almost, it feels huge now, even I feel sick when I think about it, like to even go near it, really. But obviously I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
It's just, I want to cry for me.
As far as
I don't know why.
accepting yourself, you think, or?
Because on the one hand, I'm so embarrassed that I feel this way toward other people, but actually the sad thing is the reason I feel that way toward other people is because I feel it for myself. So this is a good realization for me, that instead of just being angry at myself for being so influenced by largely my mother, I would say, and her criticism of people, although to be totally fair to my mother, I'm not, they were words to her. Mum used words. There wasn't necessarily the same sentiment behind it that I have attached to it. Like she'd just, she'd meet someone and then she'd say, he's such a lovely man, even though he's deaf. Or, there was always a trade-off that someone was a horrible person, but they were beautiful. There was always, it's like you couldn't be nice about someone without, but it was almost like that was just words to her. Whereas I have internalized everything she said and built body behind it, if you know what I mean. So my judgment of people is so cruel and I'm so ashamed of it. But in maybe this is why it's coming up now, is I am at least now able to see this is not that Kate is some bitch, some heartless cow. This is seeing how Kate treats herself.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I'm crying now for me, not for all the people who I've thought horrible things about, because I am only a product of how I hold myself. Sorry, I wasn't expecting this. So maybe that's why it had to come later, is that I have done this much work, that I can see that that my true self is the one that's hurting here. It's not that I am wicked towards other people. And it's embarrassing. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to. I don't know. I when do we learn that it's okay to be not glamorous? I mean, I wasn't brought up in a society where we had glamour girls or anything like that. We were all tomboys. I don't know where this insecurity came from about having to look a certain way.
It's interesting that you asked that question, because as you were starting to, when you said your mom and how you're, he's lovely, but he's lovely, but he's deaf or something like that. So part, just for our audience, part of the intuitive coaching is we look back at when did it start and then influencing factors. And it usually starts between 0 and 5. So when you said my mom, the guide said it started from like the get-go of when you were born, when like the moment you were born. And it wasn't your mom that started it. It was everybody in the room when you were born. And it wasn't anything necessarily directed at you, but it's not a full like view of it, if you will, but it's not your mom of all the things that impacted you. Your mom is, yes, she's there, but it's not as strong. It's far more that every single human being you would come in contact with from the moment you were born, there was this aspect of judgment. They're great, but it's always that but that, and you absorb that just like a sponge, the but part.
But I don't understand that, Julie, because on the surface, we didn't have television. We lived quite a simple life. When
you had people all around you, it feels like that and it was subtle, but you were absorbing it like a sponge. And I wonder, like, this feels like this is of this lifetime. Do do you know what your spiritual milestone is from Sally Hyde?
Sorrow.
Sorrow. Maybe sorrow for, maybe, I don't know. I don't want to interpret. I feel like sorrow for yourself is part of it. And so anything that glommed on, this is what I'm getting, anything that you could glom onto to create sorrow around yourself so that you could experience
Yeah,
it.
I do feel it's because I did a bit of work on sorrow, not a lot, but it was like, because it didn't immediately resonate with me. But I thought, you know, and my sensitivity and all of that all results in sorrow for me, because I just feel so hurt for other things, for me, for witnessing things that make me hurt. So there is a lot of sorrow there, like, you know, all the stuff I pile onto animals about them being mistreated or not being loved, or all those emotions. It all boils down to sorrow because what? I don't even know what the ideal is, but I do know that you know, a lot of the discomfort I see around me, that I then translate into, oh, well, they must be miserable then.
Yeah. You were born in Kenya, right?
Well, I was born on holiday in the UK, but
okay.
my parents lived in Kenya.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I mean, because like I say, with my mum, I don't, you know, it's just words with her. I don't know that she actually, or maybe she did. I don't know. I didn't. Was our society that judgmental?
Oh yeah. I mean, think of it. So when girls are born, it's like, oh, you don't have a son. Right there. You say I mean, that's why I asked if you were born in Kenya. Or, I mean, even in Kenya, you have racial differences, right? So one is celebrated, one at that time. I'm just throwing stuff out there. So it doesn't have to be television. It's everything, whether, you know, you had black hair or dark hair instead of blonde hair, you had dark eyes instead of, you know, blue eyes, like any super thing of what is in Western culture. Is it, you know, I'm just throwing out ideas. I have no idea, but it feels like you were this huge sponge looking, and this is what hit you. Any difference that you possessed was pulled out, meaning highlighted. Like, oh, look, her nose is this way instead of that way. Or look, you know, it doesn't matter. And then you heard it, everybody around you, like what your mom said, but also anybody would look at any other human being and that just stuck to you.
Okay.
And that's how it started. But it is interesting now, and the not lovable thing, like this ability to just love who you are, which is where you're getting to, which is why you're ready for this layer too. It's interesting at the same time that while you have the notion of looking at somebody else and saying, oh, how could, you know, they're physically different, how can anybody love them just with the physical disability? And like you were saying, how you dress, like you don't care. Like, it's interesting how you have the feeling, but you look the other way at yourself. But then at the same time, like I had said earlier about RuPaul, you love RuPaul, which is all about the dressing up and the beauty. There's just something in that too, I find super interesting.
Well, I think so. On the one hand, very strongly, rightly or wrongly, I interpreted from my mother that there was always a trade. And how to explain this? So I think this is why specifically about physical attraction, because to me, when I said sexual attraction rather than physical attraction, because to me it was about, am I physically attractive to a member of the opposite sex, or a member of, okay, in my case, the opposite sex, but as in that sexual attractiveness is perhaps less forgiving. I suppose it is, isn't it? In the sense that, you know, you may like a lot of people, but there'll only be one of them that you actually find physically attractive. You know, it's a sort of pinnacle of whatever, you know, it's like, and I mean, I just remember even when I got married, my mum was astonished that anyone would want to marry me. You know, and I'm like, oh, fucking what am I, chopped liver? Like, I had a good job, I'm intelligent. I mean, I may not be beautiful, but I'm all right. I'm not a munter. You know, sorry, and I shouldn't even say stuff like that. But like, there was all this. It's all a trade-off in value. This is where this comes from. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's almost like my mum would make comments. Well, I suppose that was quite general, wasn't it, in those days of, like, if he had an old man but he had lots of money, then he could get a younger wife. And it was all about what you brought to the table. But I feel like that is more transparent almost in a sexual or in a partnership than it ever is with your friends. Like, you may not work out with your friends, well, what are you bringing me so that I can be friends with, what are we trading here? Whereas in a partnership that is very much, I still actually see marriage as a partnership, a trade-off. What are you bringing to the table? What am I bringing to the table? How are we going to meet? And I don't think it's necessarily an unhealthy way to look at a relationship if you're going to make it work. But then maybe it is, because this is it. This is at the root of it, is what is my value, and it would inherent in that value is how attractive am I? Like, if I was really, really clever, is it okay for me to be ugly? It's like there has to be, and I know that's nonsense. But I remember my mum telling me that if I wasn't good at games, I would never be popular. Thanks, Mum. And I've always believed that, which is why I will not participate in games, because I didn't want to be not good at games. So I just wouldn't. I would, I would goof around and get in trouble and not play sports, because I wasn't I was in Kenya, and a lot of the Africans are really shit hot, so I'd be like that, I can't compete. So I would just get myself in trouble and get thrown out of the class or whatever, because I didn't, and therefore I have lived my entire life thinking that I am absolutely shit at sports and I won't even try. There was another point to this sort of trade-off. Yeah, so if I wasn't good at sports, I would never be popular. But I don't know. I don't know, and I don't understand. We have this program called Undateables, which is about people with either learning disabilities or autism or something like that. And
there's a whole television show called Undateables.
Yeah, and actually the people who listen to the podcast do not approve of it, because although I think it's good, because there is, a lot of the problem with disabilities especially is that they're saying there's no exposure to it. We never see disabled people, probably because I can't get out, because they don't there's no accessible parking where I am. It's like you don't see as many disabled people as are out there. You don't see them on television, you don't see them, we don't think of them as sexual beings, we don't think of them as having relationships. So Undateables is a dating show for people who would conventionally maybe find it difficult to find dates. So there might be a physical disfigurement, or it could be that they have learning difficulties or whatever. And I actually like it because it's just nice to watch. But the sort of disapproval of it from the perspective of the people on the podcast was that it would always be somebody with a disability and somebody with a disability, and not somebody with a disability and somebody without a disability, which is much more realistic and likely. So good in the fact that it highlighted it, bad in the sense that it's become entertainment, and also that it's almost implying that if you have a disfigurement, you can only ever expect to meet someone also with a disfigurement. But the criticism aside for it, it really opened my eyes to stuff I had never thought about. Like, if I had a mulberry stain all over my face, would anybody ever love me? Actually, you see, on the scale of things, I think mulberry stain's probably better than being fat. You see, like, I have a whole hierarchy of what's acceptable. Like, I don't know, where did this come from? And I also remember seeing there was a young girl, a pretty irrelevant, why do I need to say that, pretty young girl who was one of the other people, and she was dating a guy who, I don't know, I can't remember if he had a facial disfigurement or something like that. And they sort of said, well, does it bother you that he has this? And she said, oh, I've never really cared much for looks. And I remember thinking, well, you're either lying or you're just an actress. Like, I could not comprehend that it wouldn't matter. Am I unusual in that?
Are you unusual? I don't think you're unusual. I think
do you think like that? Am I this, then I go into this, am I really twisted.
Well, if I tell you I don't think like that, I'm nervous to tell you I don't think like that, because then I think you will then start to judge yourself harshly.
Oh, I'm already judging myself. It's fine.
Yeah, so that it doesn't serve, I don't feel like it serves you to wonder if someone else is doing that. Although that's another workaround, ballywick, is that a word, of holding yourself to other people's experiences.
Well,
that's
well,
another
I
thing.
suppose what I mean is the kinder Kate would say it's not unusual to feel like that. Most people probably do feel like that initially. And I also think that if I got to know someone, it wouldn't matter. But I think initially we all have judgments about whether somebody's attractive or not.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, my mom will look at, my mom has a couple running lines. And one of them is when she sees someone who's larger, she'll start to say, I can't believe they're out in public. I can't believe they're wearing that. And she'll go on and on and on, whether it's on a television show or we're out in a restaurant or in the grocery store. That's also, to some degree, it's her, but the sickness is also kind of accentuating that as well. And that's hard to hear all the time from her. But anyway, that's beside. So my question for you, and from the guides even, is well, this is no longer serving you, is what you are aware of. And I also wanted to say the Undateable's name of the show, from an Abraham Hicks perspective, it's already grounded in the negative instead of looking at the positive. So it's interesting that they did it that way from a law of attraction standpoint. So, but I just wonder what would help you to begin to let these go about yourself? Because regardless of how you look at somebody else, like you were saying earlier, it is a reflection of how you feel about yourself. So what would help you to begin to let that go about yourself? Do you want me to ask the guides? Or do you want me to go through like a slick thing? Okay.
You're gonna make me cry.
I didn't know if that's what you wanted to talk about. Okay. So I'm going to start from the beginning of the process. Okay. So I'm just going to, and I know we already did, but I'm just going to take a couple breaths because I'm working on going slow. So it's all, this is all of the negative beliefs, all four, tied into one. Just know that there's strands. So I'm going to ask one more time just to make sure I'm not going to fit. So okay. So here's what I see, like a ball of yarn, but all tangled. And so to pluck the threads out, to loosen it, they're starting, you're right, with not lovable. No, there's nothing you can do about it right now. But as you loosen this one, the others will start to come into play too. So you'll start to find other things. Okay, so not lovable. So I asked, what age did this begin for Kate? And they're bringing me right back to at first they brought me right back to the moment you were born, but they actually are bringing me back a bit further to when you were still with, and I know when there is a belief out there, it's one that I hold, that when you are in gestation, if you will, your soul pops in and out and you're not quite there until you actually are born. But it did, interesting. Okay, so when your mom was pregnant with you and you were coming in and out of existence, there was negativity around your mom as far as how she felt about being pregnant, not emotionally, but physically? Your mom didn't feel, it feels like your mom didn't always feel great physically about being pregnant, and therefore she also didn't sometimes look good, and people would comment on it to her. So there was a little bit of that going on. So there was emotional residue, if you will, that when you would pop in and out, and then when you were born, that stuck on you, with you. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So it started there. Interesting. And then even and then when you were born, like the following period of time, your mom still didn't feel 100% when you were born. Do you know if that, do you know? It feels like there was an expectation of feeling better physically, and it didn't transpire right away, to the point where that emotion or that feeling also settled on you, is how it feels. But that you don't know for sure. That doesn't make sense. Okay. Anyway, okay, so that's when it started. So I'm just going to look at influencing factors, which right now we know is for sure mom, because there was the emotions and whatnot about your mom. No, that's where I was going. The guys are like, yeah, that's where you were going. You you didn't do the clear steps, Julie. So when I look at the energy of you and your mom, so I see you as like this, I see you swaddled in this like burrito. I would call them baby burritos, because you're also swaddled. And I see you just kind of going, meh, meh, like you're crying, and you just oh, you came into this. Okay, wait, I'm just going to share it this way. I'm interpreting. Here's what I see. I see you as the baby burrito, and I see you trying to go, yeah, I'm like grab a hold of your mom. But the feeling isn't, mom, comfort me. The feeling is, I want to comfort you. You want to go back and comfort her. That's how it feels. Your energy feels that way, outward facing. And your mom is more like, so if you're over here, your mom is over here, and she's slumped, and I feel nauseous. I feel just nauseous, and I feel lethargic. I feel like I don't have any energy. My neck actually really hurts. I can't lift my neck up. That's how the energy is. And you are over here going, but look at me, take me. I can help you. I can help you. I can help you. And that she continues to just kind of sit over here, and then she'll do what she needs to do for your physical aliveness. And then she moves over here. Does that make sense?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea, Julie. And I can't ask her now.
Yeah, I know. And she probably wouldn't, I'm just going to guess. I don't know if she would admit it.
I was going to say, because my mom is hugely robust in some ways, but I also think that she's very unaware, so she might not even know when she's not well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, and I would say too, just from my own experience, and my mom at that time, which is in the 60s, and it's still an issue, but back then it was even more of an issue. The care for women's health, physical and emotional, not the greatest, right? Still not the greatest, but.
And my mom she had 2 cesarean sections.
Oh yeah. Oh, holy buckets. No wonder. Okay. No wonder. I mean, just that, because cesarean's harder.
But she would have probably just had to get on with it, as you say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's how it always was.
And she wouldn't have got any support from my dad, because he's emotionally incapable as well. It was bad to each other.
Yeah, and he had stuff going. I hear stuff going on. So yeah. Okay, so influencing factors. So then, but this feeling of you already as a brand new baby being cognizant of, this outward, like I just see this outward reaching of, I'm right here, I can, I'm fine. Like, not that you're fine, it's more like I can help, or like the wanting to love out and not take the love in. Oh, okay, so here's what I see now. So I see you reaching out to give love. And every time you try to do that, going there in that instance, but then even going forward, that outward giving of love. Oh, this is so interesting to me. This, I'll tell you why in a minute. That outward expression of love was always met with, yeah, that's nice, but there was something. It was
love
never accepted.
unreceived.
Say what?
Love unreceived is an emotion, apparently.
Oh, interesting. Well, and it's like, it wasn't, you gave, like, okay, so they're showing it to me this way. I have a whole big basket of flowers, and I see you going up to somebody and going, here's a whole big basket of flowers, tons of different, like the diversity is amazing. It's all the biodiversity on the planet. And you're like, here, and that represents your love. And anybody receiving it would look at it and go, I'll just take that one, and push the rest away. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. Obviously, I have no recollection of it.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it's an image. It was more of.
No, but I have no memories of my childhood.
Oh, I see. Oh, interesting. Okay. So
I know that means something in itself.
yeah. So when they show me that, like, this basket is like the Kateness of love, like the unconditional Kateness of love. Here is everything that I am in a basket, and I'm handing it to you. And you're going to pick out one little bit and reject the rest for whatever reason. However, as that basket was rejected, one of the reasons may come out, may not, but it was just the simple. I just see like the simple, that's like, I've got the one piece. I don't need to know the rest. I don't, that aspect of it.
Yeah. Which means that there was only very specific aspects of me that were acceptable and the rest were not.
Yeah. And your work in this lifetime. No, I'm not going to say that. Yes, I am. How do they want me to say this? This is what I hear them say. You want to love the whole bits. Oh, interesting. So every time someone took a piece out of the basket, you were left with the negative bits. And that is where your focus sits, on the negative bits. Because the good bits, somebody took. Does that make sense, what they're trying to say?
That instead of focusing on what people admired about me or something, I focused on all the things they didn't like about me. Which was a lot.
Yeah. Huh?
Which was a lot.
Well, your basket, the way your basket, I mean, it's huge. It's bigger than this entire room. Your basket of you, of Kateness, is huge. And every person took a tiny little bit, appreciated a tiny bit. And so you would be like, but what's wrong? You would look at I see you looking at the basket going, but what's wrong with all this? And this is where you stayed. Because this is the part you have to love. That's what I hear. Like this, and as far as your life challenge or your soul's challenge in this lifetime. Does that make sense? Is that helping?
Makes me want to cry.
Mm-hmm. So the guides are just cautioning to have grace for yourself, for staying with basket of misfit toys, I hear. That's what it is. They just want you to have grace. So they don't want you to go and beat yourself up because, oh, look, I could have stayed with the pretty things that I get, that people took or accepted. That's not the point. Does that make sense?
Yes.
How do you feel about identifying workarounds? You want to identify some workarounds as far as how? Asking if they think you have one. They think you know
I have
one.
hundreds around this.
Oh, then take one. Because this,
One,
I mean, even if you want to use this, what you've been talking about today as one, as a workaround. And look at it.
Well, I think if something is less than perfect, then it can't be lovable.
Right.
It can't be loved.
Yeah. They're saying that's the rationalization of it, but you can even boil it down into the workaround itself. Do you know what I mean? Like you look at somebody that's not perfect, or they're saying even like you look at someone and you judge perfect, not perfect, perfect, not perfect. And then where's the not perfect?
Not consciously, and I wouldn't use those words, but we have an expression in Scotland that's like good guy wank, but it doesn't really apply. But it's that sort of thing. It's like good guy, bad guy.
Mm.
Do I do that consciously? I judge people who are very well turned out, people who wear makeup, a lot of makeup, or I don't even know if these are workarounds or just habits. If somebody is beautifully turned out, or in my opinion, overdressed, or I assume there must be something else wrong with them. There's got to be some compensation for it. Like they're probably not a very nice person, or they're insecure, or they're a lot of judgment around that, which I'm not proud of.
So regardless of the human being and how absolutely whatever, I'll say perfect for lack of a good guy, you will look for the wank.
Yeah.
And it can be subconscious. I feel like a lot of it is subconscious.
I mean, this is just looking at someone, when I'm actually talking to people, my prejudices disappear.
Mm-hmm.
This is just observation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't very quickly, but at that point it then becomes a different judgment. Do we gel or do we not? But at that point, I don't judge at that point about what people look like physically. Like this is just observation.
Yeah. It's interesting that you've been able to identify, you have the physical and then how the decision tree begins. Because that's much more than you've been able to express at the beginning, I think, of when we started this conversation. But now you're honing in on the aspects of the subconscious, conscious and subconscious decision tree, as far as how all the little opportunities for workarounds, because you start you'll start rationalizing it. Do you know what I mean? But that's in and of itself is a good thing, because now you're aware of what you're.
But you see, I guess because I am aware of all of these, but my problem is, and maybe I know the answer to this. I know the answer. I'm not sure how you actually integrate it, like to change those prejudice.
How to
so I know, even if I understand where it's come from, how do you then there was somebody on RuPaul called Candy Muse, her name was. She would describe herself as a big girl, and it's just so interesting actually after what you said, because Candy's very loud, and she was saying how all her life she was criticized for all the things that are being celebrated in RuPaul's Drag Race. She had been criticized for being loud, for being overweight, for being she's very boisterous and stuff like that. And I feel like I was, as a child, a lot of these things I can't really remember. As I say, I have no memories, but I think I had a lot of those qualities that were just shut down, and I barely remember them. But this is why I'm attracted to people like that. But she said that she made a point of wearing like really, really short shorts. Like she's a big girl. And she said that, and that all the others were commenting on her body confidence, like hugely body confident. And she said, you just got to find one thing about yourself and love it.
Yeah.
And it grows from there. But both podcasts I've listened to talk about, you need to have exposure. But I don't really want to get on social media and start following body positive and all that, because I can't be bothered. I don't want, but but then at the same time I know I need some exposure to all of that for it to become okay. Like I did actually watch, I'll put this in the show notes, my friend yesterday talking about Lizzo.
Oh, she's awesome.
Her search for big girls something or other. Have you seen that? So all her dancers are what we call plus size, which is another passive aggressive term, I think. Oh my God, can they dance? But you see, this is it. It's about seeing other bodies like that. And these girls are just amazing. You see, and I think, yeah, maybe that's just it, Julie. So I just need exposure so that these things don't fall into good guy wank.
I won't disagree with that, only because Lizzo is awesome, and anything you can watch of her. She's a flautist too. She's super funny. So
she's a flautist.
Yeah.
Oh, I play the flute. Did you know that?
There you go. Oh, synchronicity. Oh, that's right, because you talked
about this.
Yeah, you're amateur. Okay, so just real quick, off topic. On Netflix is a show called My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. It's David Letterman. Are you familiar with David Letterman? Okay. He has an interview with Lizzo.
Okay.
Highly recommend it. She shows she's just phenomenal. And she just hosted Saturday Night Live, which I didn't watch. Doesn't matter. Anyway, here's what the guides though are saying about when you were saying, I just need exposure. They bring me back to this basket. And instead of, you can do exposure, that's fine, like whatever. It's more about, their point is that it's more about looking back at the basket of beautiful Kateness, all the beautiful Kateness, and what, you were, the way I saw it was people took bits out and there were bits left, and you were like, oh, but these are the bits no one wants. And so it's more about exercises for yourself in your, internally, to look at your beautiful basket, even if there's bits missing, or find what was taken, it doesn't matter, but love this bit. So exposure is one thing. It just, the way that you expressed it, and it felt to the guides that it was very external facing, and allow all of this, and then allow the external to affect me. And the guides are just saying, it starts with in, like, look, you have a beautiful basket right here of all the biodiversity on Earth, all within you, like, and this is where you start, and then let that go out instead of the other way, if that makes sense.
It does, but it makes sense intellectually.
Well, this is going to be hard, it feels like. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's just exactly it. Like, I understand what you're saying, but what does that mean? What do I do? I don't understand. It's like.
So instead of like looking at Lizzo and going, oh look.
No, I understand intellectually, but like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So so instead of looking at Lizzo and going la la la, you can look at yourself in the mirror.
Oh no, we're not doing. Oh, tried that.
No, but that's what they're suggesting. Or you know what? Here's another thing they're showing me. This is the other thing. If looking in the mirror back at your own face is too hard just yet, because it's all like the onion and the layers, look down at your right big toe, or bright big toenail, and love that. Send all the love to your right toenail.
I like my feet.
There you go. That's why they showed me your feet, because they were like, huh?
Except I've got a bunion, which is something that I've happened to any ancient old people. Suddenly, I think it's, I've no idea. Oh, I should have shown the guy today. I was at the doctor's today. My list of complaints.
And love
I actually saw somebody face to face today.
Oh, hey, look at you. Love the bunion. Because I won't say it. I'm spoon feeding. I'm supposed to not spoon feed. You want me? No. Can you love the bunion? And you'll get the bigger lesson when you. I don't need to tell you.
It just sometimes, you know, I say this to people, but it just feels so glib. Love the bunion. What does that mean? I sit and look at it and go, you're a fine bunion.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
You're part of my foot. My foot is part of me. You know.
Gratitude for my feet.
So my guides are reminding me that I have a steel plate and 6 pins in my right leg / knee area because of when Lucas broke my leg. And when I first when I was first healing, I have a friend is an energy worker in Anchorage, and so she would come over and she's like, this part where the scar is that runs alongside and all that, she's like, this part of your leg doesn't feel very loved. It feels neglected. So I would sit and just, I love you, like, wow, welcome to my body, like you're in my body now, like. And even lately it's been bugging me oddly, but it's because I just sit and I talk to it, like, you're part of it, you're part of all this, thanks for being here, all of that. Without you, I wouldn't have healed. I don't know, just that's what they're just showing me. So
okay.
And it's interesting that you brought up the bunion, because the bunion is a imperfection in your, and you know that better than I do because of the body code, which you practice, and I don't. You've practiced on me, and my eye is getting better.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I don't know. Does that make sense? How does it feel? How do you feel?
I feel a bit easier about it all, but I suspect there'll be several rounds of it.
Oh, welcome to Crazy Town. You said you haven't really hit Crazy Town, right? As we go through all this stuff, there's a part where you hit Crazy Town for our viewers that may not know. You said you haven't really felt like you've hit it, right? Yeah, I feel like, yeah. It'll be interesting to see, and maybe you can, if you want to share as you go along, all the workarounds you find. Yeah, because it feels like even the bunion was a workaround, meaning like, and I said, when the guide showed me you looking at your foot and like, I love my foot, and then they had me go further down and then on the toe, and then you brought up the bunion, like boom, right there, like you moved away from, yay, toe. No.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think we're coming to a close. How do you feel? Are you okay?
Yeah, I just feel a bit tired, but
okay.
Thank you.
I hope it helped.
A lot there.
No, I understand. I know all of us in our community are all like love the Caitness, because we all love the Caitness. So
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Can we take a couple seconds and just give updates on previous episodes? Okay. So I just wanted to say thanks to everybody who gave comments on the laziness episode and the various words, because we asked you to help us rename laziness. We are so grateful that you all that one, it resonated with you, and the two, that you left comments in different words, and they were all awesome words. So, and Kate and I probably have to go back and just kind of look at them again.
Well, my favorite
Yeah.
was, I think Heather was lazy as a 4-letter word, WERD, and you have to go away and look that up.
WERD.
Like, you know how we talk about work?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Oh.
And it does actually mean, should I tell you what it means?
Yeah.
Hang on. Should have had it ready.
Oh, I didn't even, yeah.
Slang term, a statement within itself of agreement and power.
Oh, really? So
Yeah,
laziness is word. Bad. Good. How do you say?
weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that a slang term? Blah blah blah. It's to do with Dr. Martha Luce. No, it's 1968. That was a crazy time. I bet we could do that again. Word. No, I don't know if that.
Oh.
Can be used as a greeting, a positive response, as a confirmation request. Oh, I don't know. Or maybe we should ask Heather. Right, so I fucked this up. But maybe we should ask Heather what she meant by it then.
Or was she just saying like she agreed with what we were saying and was going word?
Maybe. I found a definition that made sense to me. I think it was this. But anyway.
Okay,
But
we'll find out.
lazy is even without the weird bit, lazy is a 4-letter word, I think is very funny.
Yeah,
but
it's funny. So anyway, so thanks for all that. And I also wanted to say thanks for the support, the viewership and the support and the comments on the episodes about Happy Easter, Happy Families. So I'm glad, because those episodes made me, when I rewatched them before we posted them, those were hard for me to watch even. So thank you. I'm just going to say thank you.
We should probably do a session on that and talk about that, because I would be interested to know what you found difficult about it.
Yeah, yes. I will say, like, it just felt like I was just like ego. And then I was beating myself up because I was like human and ego, which we know is a thing.
I'm sure that I'm not going to enjoy watching this one, Julie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that's why it's 2 humans being, you're not alone. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Making Light, 2 Humans Being. As you saw with Kate Fago, of course, and it was a tough conversation as far as how we put physical appearance on ourselves and on others, and what does it really mean, and how can we become aware of it in an effort to heal and grow. So it was a tough conversation. We appreciate all of you for staying with us, and we would love to hear from you about this one, as our conversations seem to be becoming increasingly more vulnerable and difficult. So I do hope that this was helpful. Please let us know. I'm Julie here. With me, as always, is Kate Fago. We are Making Light, 2 Humans Being, and we will see you next time. Thank you.